Welcome to Chapter 4. No joke, not even 2 minutes into loading up the level, I somehow managed to take my own life by accidentally throwing a grenade. I upgraded my melee to level 4, and the lobotomy I kept performing on myself started to really take effect since I started to see Leslie even though he wasn't really there. Marcelo's talked highly about his brother, but when we found him, he was just another demon I had to put down. An axe swing did nothing to him, so obviously I decided to run away. I wanted to leave via this window, but I couldn't, and then I just sort of exploded out of nowhere. When I arose from the dead to enact my revenge, I started with a blow from the axe, and then hit him with a total of 8 level 4 jawbreakers. His body collapsed so hard that his corpse treated me to a small flashback where he indeed did go crazy while performing surgery. A quick glance at an x-ray spoke louder than words as to what it is I had to do. I opened up the cadaver like a chicken breast and got a well-deserved jump scare in return. But that's okay, because the key was acquired. Leslie yelled for help, and when we eventually found him, I got introduced to a new enemy, the Invisible One. It's a good thing for me that my gut feeling never lets me down. Ruvik appeared, which brought everyone's knees to jelly, except for me. The doctor warned me to not follow him, but I don't listen to cowards. Well, maybe I should have listened to him because I found myself being washed in a wave of blood and ended up in an entirely different location. Once I arrived to the exit door, Ruvik said, "Nuh-uh," and forced me into a battle with a good amount of enemies. This place had a decent amount of traps around, so I tried to use them to my advantage, but some were a little harder to set off than others. And even when I eventually did set them off, it led to my expiration. On my second attempt, I found this spike trap that I thought would be the best way to thin down the horde. Unfortunately, I set it off via the tripwire, which hurt me, got me cornered, and led me to being exterminated. Hey, you know what they say, third time's the charm. The blood in this area slowed me down so much it cost me some HP, but it was nothing a good needle couldn't fix. I ran around like a chicken without its head and even failed miserably at burning someone. I pulled this spike trap at the perfect time, but to my surprise, it did not kill them. These big boys took those spikes like a champ. However, you can't stay a champ for too long because I timed it perfectly again, and this time, they were gone for good. It seemed like there were only 4 left, so I kicked them. I nearly lost my life hitting one, and then I missed the spike trap. Well, almost missed. Somehow, while I was backed up into a corner, I tanked a pickaxe hit. This was my sign that no matter what, I had to get it done this time. I lured the pickaxe guy towards me, and one more blow absolutely finished the job. The door was unlocked, and what awaited me behind it was a living nightmare. Beaten and broken, I marched ahead only to be greeted by this large, sexy arachnid. As you can imagine, I did not hesitate to run. By Jehovah's Witness, I promise that there were even goosebumps on my balls as I saw how this she-devil crawled towards me. I eventually made it to an elevator where I burnt the body inside because I was not going to take any chances right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to teach you a little life lesson. Hesitation is the killer of all goals. You see, I hesitated to go towards the door, and it eventually shut on me. I tried to reactivate it, but this was just delaying the inevitable. Spider-Girl caught up to me and disfigured my head so badly that the game didn't even want to show it to me. This time around, I full sent it down the hallway and I made it through. I was relieved, and I took some time to finally catch my breath. Ruvik appeared out of nowhere and evaporated me. I encountered him again, but this time I ran away only for the staircase to collapse on me and for my perspective to make absolutely no sense. This was the end to Chapter 4. Chapter 5 started and the Invisible Man showed himself immediately. Despite him being invisible, finding him was actually not hard at all. However, it did take 15 doinks to the head for him to fall. I entered a room where I heard a lady laughing, but saw no lady in sight. If Leslie was really treated here, then I kind of understand why he is the way that he is. More crazy visions and a hole that went deeper into the hospice brought me to a locked door that needed a keycard. As I searched out for this keycard, the Invisible Men tried their absolute hardest to sneak up on me. But you see, I wear a pair of Sennheisers, so you know I heard them coming from a mile away. Once the keycard was acquired, I stumbled upon a room that allowed me to play a little bit of peeping Tom, if you will. I peered into the past of several rooms, each having a puzzle I needed to solve. The first room had me press either the left button or the right one. Without even figuring out what to do in the puzzle, I confidently used my intuition and my gut feeling. So, for this other puzzle, I saw that the diagram on the wall had a flower that matched one of the symbols that were on the buttons. And It worked out great. The second puzzle, same thing, the answer was on the wall, as well as for the third. The blood that poured off these patients created some sort of door that brought me to my partner Joseph. The guy was clearly not okay, but hey, he's still my boy. A lot of infected arose from their slumber, but a well-timed oil burning set ablaze to most of them. Finding Joseph was a blessing since he had something I did not, a gun. His gun plus my iron fist created a damn near unstoppable duo. Joseph disarmed a door that had enough explosives to blow up a small country, and then I heard a ringing that I kept hearing throughout the game. This ringing seemed to affect Joseph more than me, but my boy was a natural-born fighter. He wasn't going to let this infection take over. Whether he was in pain or not, he had no choice but to suck it up because we came across our last missing partner, Julie Kidman. She was stuck in a saw trap, and it was me and Joseph's job to get her out. My plan was to allow Joseph to just use his gun on all the enemies. However, that became a problem since they quickly outnumbered him, and he died. Now, my main focus was to be the best goddamn bodyguard Joseph has ever seen. I used my punches to keep these infected away from Joseph to give him just enough time to shoot at them. I lit up 2 at once, and a well-timed grenade did a very good amount of damage. It was looking good, but then I accidentally shot at an enemy, so I intentionally got myself killed. It was not until reviewing this footage that I realized I actually missed the shot, so I ended that run for no reason. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed in this area trying to protect Joseph at all costs, especially when you have some enemies that can throw axes at you. But eventually, with some patience, you won't actually finish, because then comes literal walking kamikazes. The problem is, they don't go after Joseph, no. They go after you. Even after you take care of it, plenty more start making their way down to you. It's a very good thing that some of these enemies use axes as weapons, since after you defeat them, you can use said axe to get a free 1 or 2 kills. After what seemed like endless waves, these masked killers showed up. Their mask provided them with extra protection, and they all had axes, so these guys meant some serious business. Despite their large size, these lunatics can move real damn quick. My lungs gave out on me, and I thought it was over, but Joseph, my boy, saved my goddamn life. I was now in debt to him, so we took this blubber to Flavortown. The amount of bullets and punches we threw just to take one out was actually annoyingly high, but the job was done, and since I saw no other enemy, I looked around to see what to do next, but I couldn't figure it out. The door was locked, and I genuinely spent 15 minutes just walking around until I came across the problem. I dealt with it pretty quickly. This final kill triggered the last wave, and finally, this area was cleared. All I had to do now was save Kidman. This bomber blew himself up in an embarrassing fashion, and this must be some sort of TikTok trend since his buddy did the exact same thing afterwards. A quick locker combination set Kidman free, but then the floor beneath him collapsed, leaving me once again alone and on the hunt for them. This hunt wasn't too hard since I immediately caught up to them and immediately died. Now that I know what to expect, this story was about to change. This time I got a nice sneak kill and a beautiful grenade toss. Joseph was putting in that work with his gun, and by golly, we did it. Us 3 amigos were finally walking and talking together, all for an old flame to come back and ruin it. My ex. I was obviously furious that I was once again split up, so I upgraded my melee to its final tier, and it was time to handle some business. I got stabbed, but remember, what comes around goes around. Laura showed up, and I used this corpse to inflict some decent fire damage. I was scared because, my god, I had nowhere to go, but thankfully she ran off instead of mutilating me. Chasing her down, unfortunately, triggered the boss fight. Here, the task was simple. Lure her into 3 different incinerators and burn her to death. I can tell you this right now, this was much easier said than done. I got lucky on the first 2, but that third one? She eventually ended up catching me, and again, the game didn't want me to see my mangled face. Alright, in the second attempt, I easily got her into the first incinerator, and even managed to burn her using this barrel, and myself. Now the thing about this fight is that, you gotta understand, I'm a one-hit kill no matter what. If she grabs me, I'm dead. I have to make sure I don't run out of stamina, which, mind you, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm not upgrading anything except my melee for this challenge, so yeah, my stamina is quite ass. As you can see here, because I was too slow, she caught me, and I finally got to see how she leaves my head. Open casket was not an option. 3rd time's the charm, maybe? Let's see. I tried to get her into the incinerator, but she was just way too fast, so I smacked her with a torch, waited for her to spawn, and smacked her again. Trying to trap her into this incinerator was becoming a bit more difficult. Every time I pulled the switch, she managed to get to the ladder before she could fall into the fire. Luckily, I got her a second time after a couple of attempts, so now I just needed the dreaded last switch. My problem was that I waited way too long to pull the switch, so it gave her enough time to get to safety. I got desperate, so I chucked 2 grenades at her, but it merely stunned her. In the end, after many attempts, she caught up to me again. 4th attempt. For the first incinerator, I decided to just jump off and not use the ladder, and it worked out great since it gave me enough time to flip the switch. The second incinerator, I'm certain the game just gave to me, because instead of running up the ladder like she usually does, I saw that she was just walking slowly, and to my surprise, when I pulled the switch, it worked. Her screams of agonizing pain filled me with smiles, and then, to my surprise, the door unlocked. I'm not sure how or what I did differently this time, but I was under the impression that I had to burn her 3 times. But hey, I ain't complaining. I only burnt her twice, saves me some time. I came across this room where again, our poor Leslie was in anguish. I hallucinated like crazy and then had to fight these 3 gentlemen. I wasn't thinking anything of it until I realized that my torch did nothing. I then proceeded to hit them an unfathomable amount of times. I'm going to fast forward this, but I hit them a good amount of times and nothing. They didn't drop a single time, and in the end, they got me. Something was off, but I didn't know what. Second attempt came, and again, the torch did nothing. As I kept hitting them, hit after hit, finally, something happened. This doofus over here fell over, and I was able to unplug him from his life support. It was finally all clear to me now. If this guy can fall over, then the others can as well. I hit them over and over and over, but they again got me. On my 3rd attempt, let's just say, I was in here for a long time. We even played tag together, but not a single one fell over, and again, I failed. I was beginning to think that maybe them falling over was just a random occurrence. I don't think it was something I could just replicate, whenever I wanted to. After another death, you know what? I had enough. I have these grenades saved to help me in a very, very sticky situation. I didn't want to use them here, but boy, was I wrong not to. These grenades knocked them down long enough for me to unplug at least one. I died, but I died gaining new knowledge. The next attempt hit me with the most luck I've ever had. Not even 5 hits in, and this first guy went down. This gave me way too much confidence to the point where I decided not to use any grenades, and well, it cost me my life like 10 minutes after. Alright, so now, I threw both grenades as soon as I spawned in and took out 2 enemies. The problem was, I only had 2 grenades, so for this last guy I was begging and praying that eventually he would fall. I swung on him for a total of 32 times, then something magical happened. At this very moment, I spotted a box right behind my enemy, and not just any box, a box holding a grenade. The alleviation that left my body as I picked this up was something I can't explain, something eldritch, something out of this world. I was feeling all of these synonyms combined. This grenade allowed me to pull the final life support that not only gifted me epilepsy, but also the end to Chapter 5. With that massive W, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for today's video. Thank you, Christ. Thank you guys for commenting on the last video, and please show me some more support by subscribing and leaving a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.